Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's dive into a story where a shared apartment becomes the battleground for a roommate conflict that escalates to the point of calling the cops, all over rent and the use of common spaces. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I have a Karen as a roommate. I share a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment with someone who gets triggered by the most minor things. She thrives on conflict. I do my best not to cause conflict, but that's nearly impossible with this 38-year-old woman who WFH. For example, she doesn't want me to be around some of the common areas, such as the small outdoor patio, because she told me her stuff is there. She has a lot of stuff, by the way. She has so much stuff that she feels the need to put some of it in the living room and on the patio. She also told me that she's a germaphobe. She doesn't want me to touch anything such as the light switches, doorknobs, refrigerator handle, or kitchen sink handle. Or if I do, I need to wipe it down because she thinks my hands are gross and sweaty. I decided to tolerate it as long as she was paying rent. I'll let her seize those areas and avoid touching a few things, but my patience started to run out when she became a deadbeat. She texted me she would pay me on the week of June 19th. She needed to pay me on June 1st, but I made the mistake of trusting her. Every time I tried to text her about rent, she was vague about it. I'm a bit frustrated, not only at myself, but at her too. I submitted paperwork to get her evicted. Today, I decided to lie in front of the sliding glass patio doors to get some sunlight. When roommate Karen arrived and saw me sitting near her stuff, she freaked out. She rudely called me out and told me not to sit near her stuff. I asked her when she'll pay me back. She ignored me and walked into her room. Then 15 to 20 minutes later, she walked out while talking on the phone. I asked her again and she ignored me. She walked around me to go outside to the patio and close the sliding door behind her. I just chilled next to her stuff in front of the sliding door. That's when I decided that as soon as she left the patio, I'll protest by going out to the patio. When she came out of the patio, I went out and closed the sliding door behind me. After 20 minutes on the patio, I was dumbfounded that she hadn't tried to argue with me yet. That's when I caught a glimpse of her on the phone on the other side of the sliding glass patio doors, glancing at me and hearing her say, "He's sitting on the floor watching videos on his phone." I didn't think much of it. She was probably telling her friend how triggered she was, which is the reaction I wanted. 10 minutes later, a female cop opened the sliding door. I was baffled because I knew I didn't break any laws. I didn't harass, raise my voice, throw insults, show violent aggression, touch, or threaten my roommate. The cop asked me what was going on. I nervously explained to her my roommate and I had some conflict on rent, and I added that my roommate gets mad whenever I chill on the patio. First, she told me my roommate can take a walk if she's triggered by me sitting on the patio. Second, she asked me if I was going through the legal process of kicking her out. I said yes and showed her the emails. She told me to sit tight, then walked back inside to chat with my roommate. I heard my roommate talking loudly. I couldn't make out what she was saying. I was worried. Worst case, she could lie and the cops take her side. Best case, she's trying to convince them that I'm the worst roommate ever. During a recent argument, I asked my roommate what happened. She said she called the cops for my behavior and was telling them what I did. After 10 minutes, the same cop returned and told me my roommate was rambling about stuff. I just nodded because it didn't surprise me. She went back inside. My roommate told me that since I was informative and relaxed and she wasn't, the cops sided with me. The cops bluntly told her she was at fault for not paying rent and it was okay for me to ask her about it. The cops were displeased at her for calling them when she could have communicated with me about unpaid rent. After 10 more minutes, the cop came back and told me they couldn't do anything and that this was a civil matter. We were told to avoid and not to talk to each other. Then they left. My roommate went to get her blood pressure checked by a paramedic. She later returns to her room to lament. F you, Karen. I'll be sitting in the common area next to your stuff. Update. She's been crying in her room for over an hour. I think she was talking to her mom because I suddenly received $956 in my bank account. I wasn't expecting this at all. Even though she did pay you, give her 30 days notice and say this isn't working out. You shouldn't have to feel like that in your own home. And our second story. Do I look like I work here with my hair? Some background. I, 27-year-old female, used to work in retail for 8 years, so I know I have that retail face, which often makes people think I'm possibly a worker. Often when they ask me something, they realize pretty quickly I don't work there and apologize. I also have big issues with being touched by random strangers out of the blue due to past abuse, and my body goes into fight-flight mode, so I always keep my earbuds in anytime I go out on my own, and for the most part, people leave me be, which does also help with the retail face. At the time of this incident, I didn't have a job. I had a major quarantine moment where I shaved half my head and dyed it lavender. This is important. Story time. I head out to Waldo's World. You know what store, not saying the actual name. Put my earbuds in and get to the bi-weekly shopping. I'm at the end of my trip, so I stop off in the water aisle. As I approach the bottled water, there's an elderly couple with the husband struggling with the pack of water, so I go over asking if I could help. I grew up learning to always offer help. They were embarrassed by it, but accepted the help, to which I went ahead and placed the case in their cart. After some thanks, they left, and I went to pick up my own case to bring to my cart. I hear over my shoulder, "Hello, could you help me find something?" Thinking they were trying to get the attention of an employee nearby, I ignored the comment and start heaving the case into my cart. All of a sudden, I feel a hand grab my shoulder hard with, "Now you listen to me," yelling in my ear and whip me around. The force causes my other hand to slip from the case and to pull hard on my shoulder, the shoulder that was pulled, and the case crashes to the ground. I go into defensive mode, shaking with tears in my eyes and clutching my shoulder as I come face to face with a middle-aged woman with a mask hanging off her ear. She was blinking at me like I just kicked her puppy. "What the F? What reason did you have to touch me?" The woman scoffed. "Finally, I have your attention. Now you can finally help me find the garbage bags." I cut her off. "You stupid bee, do I look like I work here? I have a shaved side and lavender hair. Even so, what gives you the right to touch anyone, even an associate, in the way you did?" A manager's now running down the aisle with a security guard. "What's the problem here?" The woman points at me. "I was just asking her to help me, and she just threw this case of water at me. I want her arrested." The manager looks at me. I'm wearing matching black tank top, yoga pants, face mask, and Converses, then at the woman. "Lady, calm down and stop yelling. She clearly doesn't work here, and you just assaulted this girl. We're going to check the cameras and call the police, then we'll see who's going to be arrested." The security guard then escorts the irate woman up front while calling for the police, while the manager helps me get my things to the front. Police and ambulance arrive, check me out, just a bruise that at the time was starting to form and a few scratch marks from her nails, but I was way more shaken up from being touched and yelled at. Checked the security cameras, then asked if I wanted to press charges. I, of course, said yes. The older couple had come up front, and after seeing me with the cops, came to see if I was okay. I assured them I was okay and apologized if they heard my foul mouth. The older woman said, "No need, sweetheart. I would have done the same thing, and she deserved to hear it." That took me a bit off guard, but it gave me a good smile. The police let me go after I fully calmed down, saying they would be in touch as they took the woman down to the station. After I got checked out with the older couple, I followed them to their car and helped them get their groceries in the car, despite my shoulder, then parted ways. I'm so sorry that being a good person made you a target for this stupid Karen's assault. And our next story. The way my house is set up, the garage is about 2 to 3 feet in from the property line and the driveway diagonals out, so it hits right before the property line by the time it reaches the houses. My neighbors on one side are lovely, but on the other side, it's kind of strained. They don't like my dogs, and we're blaming them for peeing in their yard, thanks to the outside street cat for that one, as my dogs are never outside unsupervised. Anyway, those neighbors are placing a fence right next to my garage. It means I can't access the side of the garage once it's up, and the fence is entirely on my side of the property line. Now, personally, I don't care and think it looks nice, but I'm worried about how it will be if I sell the house later on, or if we decide to put up an actual fence, which has been in the plan since leashing 2 dogs outside multiple times a day is annoying. I'm also kind of scared to bring it up because I know they don't really like us. The husband's nice, but his wife is very cold and seems convinced that their property goes right up to my garage. I do have the property map with multiple copies proving where the line is. They already cut down the tree that was marking the property lines, which, again, I don't mind, but now there's no solid marker to judge by. Edit. The fence posts were already set in the soil when I got home from work today. Now I'm faced with a tough decision. Do I risk straining the relationship even further by confronting them about it, or should I consider taking legal action? I'm worried about what this might mean for selling the house later on, or making any changes to the garage. If they refuse to move the fence, should I be thinking about bringing in a lawyer or taking this to court? I did mention the property line to the husband last year, and he acknowledged it, but it seems he might have forgotten. I'm really unsure how to proceed without escalating things too much. Update edit. I talked to my neighbor today, and it actually went really well. Turns out the property map they had didn't detail the line between my garage and their property, so he didn't realize it was over. I gave him a copy of my map and the fence that crosses the lines getting moved. And our last story. My neighbor is building on my property. My new neighbor, Karen, is trying to crash my pool and attack me. So a new neighbor named Karen just moved into our quiet neighborhood. She bought one half of a small duplex that's not too far from my house. I've been living here for over 10 years, fixed up my house myself, and even built the pool I've always wanted. I'm not a big fan of fences, so my front yard's open, and the backyard's only separated from the neighbors by some hedges. That Sunday evening, as usual, I decided to unwind after a long day. My wife had gone inside to do her own thing, so I was alone. I made myself a cocktail to enjoy some peace and quiet by the pool. Walking out to the backyard, I expected to see an empty lounge chair where I was planning to relax. But instead, there was Karen, sprawled out with her chubby son in tow. Her giant cup of Coke and loud chatter immediately caught my attention. She apparently decided that being here was totally normal. I sighed and walked over to the lounge chair. Excuse me, but this is private property, I started calmly, trying not to raise my voice. Karen looked at me like I was an annoying mosquito disrupting her perfect day. What? She squinted. I'm just chilling. We were out for a walk and I thought we'd use your pool. You don't even have fences. I was shocked by her nerve. Thoughts raced through my head about how to handle this situation. But before I could respond, Karen continued, Oh, relax. We're not hurting anything, she declared, taking a sip of her Coke. Sorry, but that's my lounge chair and my pool. Please leave my property. I was done trying to be polite. Karen jumped up, eyes bulging like I'd suggested something outrageous. You jerk, she shouted, and before I could blink, she splashed her Coke right in my face. Fine, we're leaving. She grabbed her son's hand and yanked him towards the gate. I just stood there, stunned, as sticky droplets slowly dripped down my face. What a neighbor, I thought. And what other surprises does she have in store? The next day at work, I had an interview scheduled. I own a small construction company, and I needed a new secretary. The morning started like any other. I checked my emails and prepped for the meeting. Right on time, the office door opened, and in walked Karen. At first, she didn't recognize me. It seemed like a normal situation. A woman showed up for an interview, politely smiled, but when I stood up and introduced myself, the color drained from her face. You, Karen stammered. It's you. Yes, it's me. The guy with the pool you so desperately tried to invade yesterday? I could barely hold back a grin. She stood there frozen, her eyes darting around the room like she was looking for an escape. There was an awkward pause. Finally, Karen pulled herself together and mumbled, I think I don't want to go through with this interview. Sorry, she said, and practically ran out of the office. As soon as the door closed behind her, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. The next day, the whole office was talking about it. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. Turns out sometimes life throws you curveballs that you just can't help but laugh at. The author didn't even have to do anything to punish Karen. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.